Welcome to the Daily Telegraph NRL Podcast. I'm Michael Carayannis, joined new look gang. We've got David Riccio to my left, Brent and Reed.
Dave's looking sharp too.
To my right.
Oh, thanks,
my wife said to me the other day, she saw a photo of Dave on Instagram. She said,
What about Kyle stalking?
She said, have you ever
Riccio?
thought about wearing the shirt under the jacket? I
Yeah.
said, no, I've never thought about it. Do you like to look, Dave?
So
it's a winner.
Next time you're on the pod, can you dress like that?
I'm going to wear that, yeah.
Yeah.
We have the budget to go and we'll be allowed to go shopping.
Kyle.
Now I've got the green light to go and
see
buy
ya.
some clothes, haven't I?
I know. What about you, Reedy? This
What's
week,
happened?
you've been in the news.
I haven't been in the news.
You've created the news around Leichhardt.
Oh, really?
You hate Leichhardt. You
I
hate
don't
suburban
Leichhardt.
grounds.
I don't
you
like
hate the
suburban
Tigers.
grounds. I love the. You know I love the
You're
Tigers.
a Peabody.
You know I'm Benji's number
What's
one
the Peabody thing? Why are
Peabody.
you getting smashed
Have
by
we got
your
an image of Peabody? Did we do it every week?
No.
Anthony Maroon started this on Triple M. He started calling me Peabody. He's a cartoon character from the. I don't know, it's probably before your time.
I've never heard of him.
You know Peabody?
Yeah, I do, yeah. There's been a remake of...
There has too. There was a movie made, yeah.
I've never
Peabody.
heard
So
of
he
it.
started calling me Peabody. Jimmy Hooper's picked up on it. Brace now picked up on it. Come up with your own names, boys. Hey, be a bit creative. Maroon's
Wow.
been a bit creative.
Peabody
You've
and
got nothing.
Sherman.
They could have come up with like Millhouse or something called Millhouse.
Millhouse, yeah, I like Millhouse, yeah.
It's all right. But Peabody, please.
So what's going on? Leichhardt, you started this in your column last week.
Well, it's fallen down, Mick. It's falling down, and they need to spend some money on the place. They want at least 30 million. And if they can't get the money, they can't play there. That's a fact.
So what about the scenes? The 16,000
What does that
people
matter?
crammed into
Of course it matters.
Leichhardt Oval, different feel.
That's great.
A great
What
environment.
about if that scoreboard falls on top of someone, which could happen?
Oh, what are you? All right.
Is this where you've taken your argument?
The scoreboard. Robbie's not on the scoreboard anymore. It's safe.
Oh, you fat shaming Robbie.
Seriously, ready? You had the whole week to come up with a stronger argument, and you've come up with what if the scoreboard falls over?
What I'm saying is, Dave, it's the ground is in a state of disrepair. Everyone acknowledges that.
Exactly.
There's no toilets. You can't get a beer. I mean, poor old Matty. Was it Matty Incarnation was there on whatever night it was? He had to line up an hour for a beer and couldn't get one. He ended up quitting.
Well,
it's hopeless, mate.
Don't have a beer.
Well, okay, soft drinks. Look, I mean, they're great scenes. I love the scenes. The scenes
You
are amazing.
obviously hate them because you're worried about the scoreboard.
The scenes are fantastic, but what I'm saying is, it's 2024. It's a game that turns over $700 million a year, and we're playing in places that are basically on the verge of being shut down because they're not safe to humanity.
Really, I understand where you're coming from, and I believe...
Doesn't sound like it, Dave. You haven't backed me up.
The game needs to grow up a bit, right? A fair bit. But no one's complaining about the beers because look at the crowd.
You know what they paid for that? What about what they paid for the honour of sitting there?
Well, but that's the point. That's what's
$55.
Well,
Yeah,
it looks
what a
like
scam.
they're happy to pay it.
They still make no money out of playing there, and that's the other issue. That's my other big issue.
Really, people are still turning up.
Yeah,
Do you
but they
think
make no money?
All right, so
The club makes no
there's
money out of that.
16,000 people there, right?
Yep.
How many people go to that game at Homebush?
20.
No, they do not.
Are you kidding?
The West Tigers v Cronulla.
Yes.
How many people go? You think
I reckon
20,000?
they get at least that.
I disagree.
What do you think?
Less than 16.
Really, I reckon there'd be Sharks fans that would have made the journey for the experience of going to Leichhardt
Oh,
Oval.
please. No
They
one
would've.
goes
And
to Leichhardt for the
that
experience.
that crowd, right? The people that Leichhardt Oval attracts
They took their life in their own hands,
is a different rugby league crowd. It's
What do you mean?
a lot of those people that go to games would only go to Leichhardt or Henson Park.
That's right.
The inner Westies that go
And
to
there's
this.
probably some people who would only go to a call.
No
Because
doubt.
they know they'll be sitting in a nice stadium.
No
they can't
doubt.
see anyone
No
because
doubt.
they're miles
But they're
away.
the
But
rugby
they're
league
only
fans that
getting
will go to most games, right? Where I think this is a different audience that the Tigers are attracting at the moment that aren't necessarily rugby league fans.
You know what? Everyone's missing the point on, right? It doesn't matter what I say.
It does.
Right? It doesn't.
It does to us.
No, it doesn't matter. For that ground's future, it doesn't matter. Because they're going to close it down unless people spend money. The government spend money on it.
They've been
It's going
saying
to
for
get
30
shut
years.
down
They've been saying
anyway.
for 30 years. they're gonna
We're
get rid of it.
supportive of the ground getting more money. I agree with you.
I'm supportive of that.
But I don't agree with moving away from a spiritual heartland of rugby league.
They've got spiritual heartlands everywhere, that club.
No,
They're
they
so-
don't.
they're
They don't.
They're so divided.
They don't.
Well, they've got two home grounds.
They're the
Yeah.
most nomadic club I know. What
Exactly.
are you talking about?
And that's the issue, but Reedy, that we've done. The Tigers, Balmain, and now the West Tigers have been doing this for 30 years, trying to get out of Leichhardt.
It's worked for 1 year.
It's never worked. Like I'm talking about first they went to Parramatta, they became the Sydney Tigers, and when did that happen? They came back to Leichhardt. When the joint venture happened, they tried to move around and minimise the games at Leichhardt. What's ended up happening? They're back at Leichhardt.
Well, maybe they should stick to it for a while and give it a chance to succeed.
It doesn't work. They'll
So,
do it again.
okay.
They'll
No,
move
it's
away.
fine.
You know what will happen in 5 years' time?
What?
we'll be sitting and they'll be back at Leichhardt.
Only if they get some money spent
They'll
on
be
it.
back at Leichhardt.
Freddie, if 5,000 people were turning up, I would understand your argument. But it's a full house.
I like Cronulla.
And
what
there's
do they
people-
hold? What do they hold? 5,000 these days?
12.5. So
Cronulla's more of a
Don't
dump.
get me started on
Cronulla's more of a
Cronulla.
dump than
Don't get me
Leichhardt.
started on Cronulla.
you don't think Dino Mazzatesta and the board down there have been fighting for funding for
I
years?
know.
Right?
I know.
So if there were small crowds, no one's turning up, I can understand the argument, but you don't walk away from your customers.
You won't have a choice. You will not have a choice unless they get some money spent on the ground.
Okay.
They will not have a choice. They will have to leave
Why?
because it will not be safe.
It's
and that's
safe.
the point.
It's safe.
Of course.
How's it
You
not
saw that part of a stand fell down 2 years
fixed
ago.
They fixed it.
A couple of schoolboys are looking up the toy. Why are you laughing?
Look, I'm just, if I go Leichhardt again, I'm not sitting near the scoreboard because I'm worried about it. But what about the Tigers, right? In good news, they were outstanding against the Sharks.
Yes.
Do we give him a chance against Para?
Yes, a massive chance. No Mitch Moses. I'll give him a massive chance. I love the Tigers. Benji, I think he's doing a great job.
This is the funny thing, Tigers fans. This is the funny thing. You
Yeah,
guys
can
have
you explain
been,
this
you
to
guys have
me?
been smashing my colleague here, Paul Brent Reed, who in the last 2 years is probably the only journo that's given the Tigers some hope,
Yes.
some life. So lay off him, smash Riccio instead.
I thought the scoreline flattered the Tigers. I thought Cronulla were absolutely pitiful. I thought Nico Hines had one of his worst performances in a Sharks jersey. They were down to a one-man bench, Cronulla. The Tigers scored 2 tries off kicks. One was fluky as all get out because Braden Trindle dropped it in the in goal. No denying the West Tigers pack took the Sharks pack to task, but ultimately they were debilitated by injuries, the Sharks. I thought that Cronulla were way off and the scoreline flattered the Tigers.
On the Sharks, Dave, things aren't
Why
looking...
you moved off the Tigers so quick? They're a chance on Monday. Let's give them a chance.
Okay,
I think they can beat the Parramatta.
Didn't I ask you that about 2 minutes ago?
Can we talk a little bit more about the Tigers and why they can beat Parramatta?
No. What about the Sharks, Dave?
Yeah.
I think they can beat Parramatta too.
Thank you.
I think they can.
I've tipped them. Have you tipped them?
I haven't tipped them, no.
Did you tip the Tigers or
No,
Para?
Parramatta.
I've tipped Para, but Tigers are a real shake.
Yeah,
No
I know.
doubt. Sharks, Dave, massive injury crisis there. Can you talk us through the players on the side? Will they get anyone back in the short term, or is it a long stint for some of these guys?
Yeah, Mickey, look, I touched on it. They were debilitated through that game against the West Tigers. Big ones, Dale Finucane, their co-captain, a fractured eye socket. He doesn't need surgery. He met with a surgeon earlier in the week, and there was a fear that he'd need a plate inserted in that cheekbone eye socket area. That doesn't need to happen, so he'll rehab. The Sharks go Raiders Sunday by South Sydney. By the South Sydney game, I suspect that Braden Hamlin-Uele, Dale Finucane, and Britton Nakora, who's currently out suspended, those 3 forwards will be back into the Sharks pack. They're still without Royce Hunt, who has a calf injury, picked up in some bizarre scenario in the warm-up.
I've never seen the warm-up during the game, right, off the interchange bench. We've seen players...
I did it during the game, warming up.
Yeah.
Warming up, never got on the field.
I've never heard of anyone doing that before.
Yeah, no. So
Royce up Cronulla's night.
So Royce has got a calf problem. It's about $3 million worth of salary cap in their forward pack out on the sidelines against a Raiders pack, Mick, that we all know that's their strength.
I am looking forward to seeing Talakai play in the back row.
Yeah.
Can I ask Dave a question about Dale Finucane? Had a lot of head knocks over the years, Dale. We all love him. He is the heartbeat of that football team, right? Everyone... But he has, I know he didn't fail HIA.
He didn't, no. There's a little bit of...
He fractured, what did he fracture his?
Eye socket.
That's another head knock regardless. He's had a lot of them.
Well, he wasn't concussed, if that's what you're inferring. He wasn't concussed.
I'm not inferring he was concussed. I'm saying it, he's still copped
a
the
head knock.
Yeah. He's copped a lot.
A knock to his head is a lot different to a concussion.
Yeah.
So he's had 2 concussions.
At some point his brain bounced around in there because you can't fracture an eye socket without your brain bouncing around your skull.
Yeah, but so that's also like...
I don't know.
I'm just saying he's had a lot.
Almost like every forward that carries the footy forward when they're hit heavily.
Okay.
Their brain probably rattles around.
Dale's all clear.
2022,
Why are you shaking your head?
Dale Finucane in 2022 had 2 concussions. In 2023, no concussions. This year, the fractured eye socket is an issue. He had blurred vision due to the fracture.
The eye socket. Okay.
Is it concerning that Dale Finucane can find an injury? Absolutely. Like, he's a huge investment for that football club.
What does he have? 2 more years left on his deal,
Next
Dave?
season to go.
Next season, okay.
Yeah. I think he sees it through, guys. I don't think there's this... when players reach this point of their career and they're starting to mount a few injuries, there's the old discussion about do they start to think about tapping him on the shoulder or medical retirement. I don't think the Sharks are at that point in time.
You've got Cronulla colours on, actually. I just noticed
It's in
that.
tribute for Dave. Are you tipping on Sunday night? Raiders, Sharks?
Who am I tipping? I've tipped the Raiders.
Yeah, me too.
I think the Raiders' strength was
Dave's
where
got Raiders colours on.
Yeah, the Raiders.
Bad and mean, great machine.
The Raiders' strength is where Cronulla are short this week. Their forward pack's great forward pack.
I don't think you could have summed that up any better.
What's that?
What you just said.
What was that?
I liked it.
Oh, okay.
Can I say something real quickly before you move on, Mick?
Really
Kale Iro comes into the Sharks lineup for the first game. He's only played one first grade game before, back in 2022.
Where's he? He's a centre, right?
Yeah. But he's been plying his trade in the New South Wales Cup. Guys, I haven't seen more social media anticipation
Really?
about
from
a
the
guy.
Cronulla fans.
Oh, it's been off the charts. You'd think the bloke's played 20 test
Is he
matches.
that good? I haven't seen him play.
He goes well in the New South Wales Cup.
Big challenge.
He's a lovely guy. He's a
big
champion
step
fella.
It's like Mick stepping up to host the podcast.
Yeah,
it's a big step up for him. So far you go, okay.
I think Sharks fans need to chill a little bit on the anticipation that this bloke's going to run around like Mal Meninga.
Take the heat off the kid.
Yeah.
Just on the podcast, I spoke to Buzz yesterday. I said, we can just take posh. I go, Buzz, we've just been covering you up on the podcast. He goes, mate, you know I don't listen. So we can just do what we want. But Buzz should be back next week, everyone.
He didn't sound too good the other day.
He's on his deathbed, but he plans hopefully to be back next week and we can get rid of Reedy.
Geez, really, the viewers, that's not for the viewers. That's great for the listeners. Buzz is coming back. That'll get him tuning in. I like it. What's up, Mick? What's next? Sorry for having an opinion. sorry, Buzz.
He doesn't watch.
Can you regain control?
We spoke about Mitch Moses, Parramatta, and their chances against the Tigers. Who misses their number 7 more? Mitch Moses at Parramatta or Nathan Cleary missing at Penrith?
I think Mitch Moses at Parramatta. I think that Penrith team's more of a well-oiled machine, and they've been able to compensate for losing Nathan in the past. Whilst Parramatta, they've moved Dylan to halfback.
Yeah.
It's not natural for him. I wouldn't have thought from my little knowledge of him. I know he can lead a team, but that's a big ask. And then Blaze Talangi at 6. He has played a lot of 6 in lower levels, but it's a big test for them.
I guess on the flip side to that point, maybe we should approach it. Who can control their side better, Jerome Luai at Penrith or Dylan Brown at Parramatta?
Yeah, good question. Great question.
That's good hosting.
Yeah, that's very good hosting.
I didn't go to you, it'd be too hard of a question.
Look, clearly Jerome's got the runs on the board as far as experience goes. In big games, in games. So I'd lean towards Jerome. What I'm looking for from Parramatta is Clint Gutherson to take heat off Dylan Brown in that playmaking role and really be a running ball-playing 5'8" and probably changing his game a touch. He does play footy. He plays out the back a lot, Gutho. But I think Parramatta aren't too badly off with Dylan steering the team. I think he's clearly a huge talent, but Gutho's the one for me. Gutho can step in and take some pressure off. And you know what? I think they're getting a lot out of Lussick as well at dummy half.
He's been good.
So I'm more than confident Parramatta can keep rolling.
Does Mitch get enough credit for his toughness?
No.
Really? Because we saw it through Origin.
He played an Origin an Origin game with a broken back.
Yeah.
He's a tough bugger.
Was this fractured foot with about 15 to go? Yeah.
And he played with the sore groin.
And the groin that he's been carrying, which has restricted him from kicking as well. It's probably something that's gone under the radar a little bit. His toughness.
Yeah. Good idea, Mick. Good story.
Reedy, would you get out of bed with a sore back? Would you come to work with a fractured foot?
Well,
you'd be calling in sick?
You know that I've had serious calf issues in the past, and I've come to work. You know that. Your phone's going off, mate. Can you sort that?
We are journalists.
It's Carl Hero.
It's just stopped vibrating.
Sorry, I've got to go.
But I prefer not to. If I can avoid coming in, probably would put the white flag up and call in sick. Yeah. But he's a tough boy, man. He is a tough kid.
Yeah.
You know he'll be happy.
Call him a boy.
He'll be happy that Mitch is not playing. Whoever's refereeing that game.
He can whinge, yeah.
Oh, dearie me.
He can whinge for Australia.
Ashley Klein told him a couple of weeks ago, as Penrith, Mitch, stop whinging.
Man.
He put him back in his place. Stop
He can carry on, Mitch. But no, so can Gutho, can't he?
Yeah,
the two of them are just
world class, two of them. Yeah. But
mate, he's tough. Yeah, real tough.
They did well to win that game too, Parramatta last week.
Good game. What a game.
Yeah.
It was a fun game to watch.
They blew that, man. They blew it. 14-0 up. They should have been 20-0 up, really. They should have scored it 14-0. I mean, they completely blew that. I wonder whether that might come back to haunt them later in the year.
Well, particularly for their top 4 aspirations, right? Like, I think we all probably believe that Manly will be in the top 8.
I had him in there.
Yeah.
You're not convinced yet, Dave?
Yeah, not convinced yet. No, I'm really worried about their depth once they start to get a few injuries and
The reserve grade's going all right, actually.
They do have a couple of middles out already. Toff Sipley has been missing. Matt Lodge has been missing. Aaron Woods is there, hasn't played.
He must be knocking on the door. He played the entire first half in Queensland and New South Wales Cup last week.
Where's Schuster?
Schuster played all right, they reckon, last week.
He's got a lot of work to do.
Lodgie's about round 7, 8, I think.
Yeah.
Sipley's back. Sipley's back this week. Yeah,
Jason Saab's
they got a
early
little bit of
return.
depth.
He should be back round 7.
Particularly in the forward pack.
My issue for them is defensively.
Yeah, that's
the way they move the ball is so fun to watch. It's awesome to watch how they shift and how quick they shift, and they're not going sideways for the sake of going sideways. They're still going forward, and their strike on the edges is
good, isn't it?
World class. But defensively is my issue with them.
Is there any anticipation of the Manly bus driving down Mount Ousley to Wollongong? And the boys getting off the bus a little bit, a little bit ho-hum after Vegas, playing the Roosters in front of a packed house at Brookie, Parramatta, always in a cracking game. There's a little bit of, how do we get up for this one down in Wollongong against the team we're supposed to beat?
The only thing I agree with that, Dave, the only thing is that if you get into a game of touch footy with them, they'll beat you.
Yeah.
So if the Dragons,
Saints have to defend,
they've got to roll
hard.
their sleeves up, right? Because
it's not really their go so far.
Manly will beat the lower ranked sides unless they have an attitude like Canterbury do.
Yeah.
Defensively, right?
Yeah.
We've seen the way Canterbury have been able to defend, but if you're going to play touch footy with Manly, you'll lose 40 to 30 every week, right? So if the Dragons are prepared to roll up their sleeves, then I give them a chance. But the Dragons do have 4 key ins that were missing last week.
And I would say they're roll-up-the-sleeve type of guys.
But they're important. The Dragons don't have the depth to be missing.
Jaden Sewer, Molo.
Sewer's in a bit of doubt still.
Sewer missed about 8 tackles.
He's playing. He's playing.
He missed about 8 tackles last week. Or the week before.
Hame Sele's first game. Hame Sele's first game back. Frankie Molo.
He missed a lot of tackles.
Jacob Little.
My mail is Hame will get it's a first hit out minute, so you won't play long minutes.
I think if the Dragons don't have the right attitude and Manly turn up like they did in the opening 20 last week, it'll be 30-0 after 15 minutes.
Yeah. They'll,
because they can, as you said, Mick, they can put points on. They are explosive.
Yep.
And I'm loving the way Luke Brooks is playing.
It's going good.
He's killing it.
Zac Lomax ready? You got an update on his future?
This is your baby, isn't it?
For tomorrow's
big meetings next week, right? So,
well, not a meeting. The talks, potential talks.
Okay, well, the talks next week.
Unplanned talks. So
my understanding, I'm sure it's yours and yours as well, is that Zac's still, at the moment, they're still going to ask for a release at the end of, well, I'm sure he'll ask for it now, but he won't get it till the end of the year. And I think there's some people at the Dragons who will be happy if he retains that attitude to see the back of him. They'll be happy to let him go as long as they get something in return. And there's players out there you can go and try and get. I mean, Nelson's the obvious one. Nelson Sofa Solomona, who's a bit unsettled. There's a bit of
Isn't there a little bit of... I'm with you on Nelson. Like, clearly someone that Saints would need in their front row. But I'm always a little bit concerned when Melbourne are getting rid of players. But I suppose that's where Saints are at.
Yeah, it's like, I think if the Dragons release him now, the Dragons said to Zac Lomax before the start of the season, we're not engaging any further until after round 4.
Yep.
That's next week. So there's no, they haven't booked in a meeting, but they're expecting a call from Lomax's management again at some stage next week to either arrange a meeting or to potentially ask for another release. Parramatta are circling. Parramatta made it clear they want him. They can accommodate him now. The Dragons won't release him mid-year unless they get something out of it. The benefit to the Dragons for next year is if someone's prepared to cop his 800,000.
Yeah, I'm sure someone will.
And that may not necessarily mean a player swap because it clears up a huge amount of their salary cap for a player that they're not getting $800,000 worth of value.
No way.
At. So I think they're the two things. If he's to go before June 30, there's definitely going to need to be a player or something involved for them to go. But if someone's willing to take the $800,000 off their books for the next couple of years, then they would certainly look at it. But in Zac's credit, right, in his defence as well, he's been their best player this year.
Yeah, he has.
He's been outstanding on the wing.
I think he's picked up Flano's Coaches Award 2 out of the 3 weeks.
Really? Yeah, he's been outstanding this year. So while it's not affecting him on the field, and Ben Hunt said those things last week, that it's not affecting him at training, I think in the back of his mind, there's no doubt at some point that talks are going to heat up again. And Dave, I think you've intimated the fact that a switch back to centre may not be that far away.
Yeah, no, certainly, and we saw it a little bit in last week's game against the Cowboys. Zac pushing into the centre position, Jack Bird moving to the wing. Jack's been told, mate, you were given first crack, right? We can only put up with some of your efforts for so long. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the performance from Jack Bird, Zac Lomax on the weekend, because I think ultimately, Zac is closer than ever before to moving back to centre.
How do we see it playing out?
Well, I find the para interest in Zac Lomax quite intriguing, right? Because 2 weeks ago you would have thought, smart move, he's a good player, get him in the new system, he might get the best out of him. But now Blaise Talangi's come through, he's got an option in his deal for next season. He can't talk to other clubs until after round 6. And if you're Blaise Talangi and you know the Parramatta are going out trying to get Zac Lomax, I'm thinking, what does that say about my future at the footy club?
Unless Zac's best position at Parramatta's on the wing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
do you know what I mean? If they got Bensony and...
The only catch there is Blaise played left centre last week.
I think
he's got that try on the left, right.
I think he can play just about anywhere. He's got a bit of fullback in him. Right, he can play centre. He can play 6, as we see this week, Blaise Talangi. But that's the interesting subplot for me.
Sure.
If you're a kid at Parramatta, and they've got a lot of kids coming through that system, good kids that people have high hopes for, if they're going to buy over the top of them, what do those kids do?
And you talk about player swaps. Like, obviously, I doubt this would happen, but if Parramatta said, we'll swap your Blaise for Zac Lomax, the Dragons would do that before June 30.
Yes.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And they'd walk away with 600. Well,
not that much, but a good amount on their cap. So that's where it's going to come down to at the moment. The Dragons haven't entertained any discussions with any clubs because they've obviously told Zac you don't have permission to negotiate, and they might come back next week and say you don't have permission to negotiate again. And say,
I think he'll end up leaving there at the end of the year, Mick. I reckon it's...
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah, I think there's a...
Unless someone dangles a carrot in front of the Dragons that they think will benefit them long term, then otherwise I agree with you both that I think you'll see out the season.
Well, it won't be Nelson because whilst the Dragons maybe have an interest in Nelson, Melbourne aren't going to let him go without getting a forward in return.
Right.
They're not going to take Zac Lomax.
And the Dragons aren't exactly flush with forwards. So the Dragons can't really afford to lose someone else, right? And we talk about the $800,000 in their cap. Salary cap's not an issue for the Dragons at the moment, right? They've got a lot of space. They just need some quality players, and that's been their issue, trying to find some replacements for some of those guys. But let's head up north, Reedy. A lot of news in the Broncos land over the last couple of days. Firstly, Reece Walsh, his contract and his injury. Where's the Reece Walsh conversation at?
Look, they're very advanced on a new deal for him, and there will be one done. It's not signed, sealed, delivered yet, but they're certainly well down the track. And
the board's approved the figures, haven't they?
Yeah, they've rubber stamped the ballpark figures. Yeah, he'll be there for end of 2029. It's just a matter. It's a formality, really. It's just a matter of time before he puts pen to paper. So. Great for the Broncos. It'll be big money. It'll average out 1.1. I think it finishes about 1.2 mil a year the last year. So, and he's worth every cent of that, I would think.
I think at the end of the year it'll go beyond 1 because if it averages out at that number.
Yeah, it includes an upgrade for
next year.
Yeah,
but I think probably by the end of the year, by the end of that 5-year deal, it's probably
1.3, 1.4.
1.4.
Well, even that's unders for him when you consider what Caelan's on about
1.4,
1.5 this year.
Different stages of their careers too.
Nathan's on 1.5. Well, his goes up and eventually comes down.
It's starting to go down now, right?
No, could it go down now?
I think this year, or is it next year?
No, I think it's next year. But I think that's ballpark good. That's about what Reece is worth in the current market. It's a good deal for the Broncos because he's an out-and-out superstar. Man, he's good to watch.
Yeah, I think it's it's a no-brainer, absolutely, to get the deal done. But my only concern is the juggling act that the Broncos will find themselves in.
Cap-wise, you mean?
Obviously, yeah.
I think they've done a good job with that, Dave.
Well, we've already seen. I think they're hurting currently from the fact that the cap has hit them, and that is Herbie Farnworth, Thomas Flegler, Capewell, all gone as a result of keeping Ezra Mam last year on a new extended deal. Now comes Reece Walsh on an extended deal. You're throwing Pat Carrigan, Katoni Staggs,
Payne Haas.
These are huge cap deals, right?
They're very top heavy. Like, there are a lot of blokes on big money now.
Yeah, and I just question where the next one's going to fall, because it will fall. When you sign Reece Walsh at 1-1...
What you need with that, Dave, is a bit like Penrith have had. They've had young guys coming through, and the Broncos have got some young guys coming through. They got, obviously, Reynolds has got one more year. They've got a kid named Kobe Black coming through, young half. They've got a young hooker coming through, Blake Moser. So they've got young kid Dean Mariner. They've got young guys coming through that are on less money. They just need those blokes to be able to take the next step. Mariner's done it. They need now Kobe Black and Blake Moser to be able to show they can come up and
it feels like Corey Oates will be the next one to drop out. I just feel like there'll be another one. There'll have to be,
Yeah, that's fair.
One of the most intriguing clashes, and it always is on Good Friday, but added intrigue this week is South v Bulldogs. I don't know, for the first time in a long time, I found it difficult to tip this game, I'd suggest, and that's not a total disrespect to like South Sydney. So I think some respect has to be given to Canterbury as well, considering the way they've started the year. But who do we like in this? I've tipped South.
Right.
But
can you tell us why, mate?
No confidence. No, because they're due, right?
You take the Dogs.
I did take the Dogs.
Yeah. Wow.
I can't argue significantly either way.
I'll tell you what. I like what they're doing defensively, the Dogs.
Yeah, they've been good.
And I just have no trust yet in South Sydney.
Yeah.
I've seen enough promise in the Dogs. Obviously, the nil scoreline last week against the Titans. They held Cronulla 6-6 for a long time in their game previous. The Dogs did. I thought there were some really promising signs. And I just, on that basis alone, and they've got their win. The monkey's off the Dogs' back. They can go out and play with some belief and confidence. Souths are sort of still with that noose around their neck. Just playing frozen almost. Hopefully JD's told them to do the complete opposite and go play with some excitement and some freedom. Yeah. But naturally, when you're chasing that first win, it's hard to do.
Well, I can't argue against what you're saying, but they've got to turn it around.
Yeah, they've got too many good players.
That's my thinking here. There's not a great deal of science into what I'm saying here. It's just looking at the teams and you think, all right, eventually Cody's going to click. I think Latrell's been decent.
Yeah, good, yeah.
You know, Cook and some of their forwards. You know, if Cam Murray is out, I think that would be huge, obviously. But who you've tipped South?
I tipped South, yeah.
Confident?
They're on their last chance.
Really got them on notice.
Some of those blokes are on their last chance. With a lot of pressure to move Latrell at the moment, to move in the centre, because young Jai Gray's killing it in reserve grade.
Cody's the one that's got to be under the pump.
Cody's under the pump. He hasn't been playing great. Even Dean Hawkins last week. I mean, do they switch back to Ilias if Hawkins has a poor game? But I'm with you. I think they've just got too many. At some point, they've got to turn around South. I just find it hard to believe they're going to keep playing as badly as they are. And as good as Canterbury have been, Dave, and they've been pretty good. They didn't play much last week.
They didn't, mate.
Titans were abysmal.
No, they didn't.
But they've been defensively a lot better. They've shown a bit of resilience the first 3 weeks. And, you know, I understand your tip of them, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it.
I'm saying. And I've gone...
It wasn't an easy tip.
I've tipped the Roosters tonight. So I don't think...
Really?
I couldn't have gone...
I went the Roosters tonight.
Yeah, so
you do know Ivan's record against Robbo?
Oh,
no, I'm not aware.
Do you want to explain it to us quickly?
Ivan's won his last 8 against Trent Robinson.
Is that right?
Last 8.
Wow.
Penrith beaten Roosters last 8 games in a row. 8 in succession.
You keep repeating it.
Can I say...
Oh, yeah.
Since we were talking about South, am I safe to declare Robbo Ivan's bunny?
He's
Easter bunny!
If you go 9-0, what does it have to get to double digits?
When you become someone's bunny, is 8 in a row enough?
I'll leave that to you to decide, Reedy. Just briefly, but guys, obviously big news in the AFL over the last couple of days regarding some surprising news, I guess, and developments regarding their drugs policy. We won't go into that, Reedy, but how does it work in the NRL? Could we see a similar situation play out in the NRL?
Well, you wouldn't see the NRL a party to it because they've got an independent body that does their illicit testing for them. And the names are randomly drawn. They go out to training, do the testing of the players. You wouldn't see, I think the allegation is that the AFL was complicit in it. That wouldn't happen in the NRL. That hasn't happened in the NRL. And I think the NRL's horrified by what they've read as well.
Yep, all right.
Mortified.
Well, it could have massive ramifications, could have none. Really, there'll be no in between for rugby league. But we got some podcast questions. We've got a lot around Leichhardt Oval, so a lot of emails. Thank you for those. A lot of podcast questions. Obviously, if we talk about it throughout the show, we don't really
go back.
We're not going to talk about Leichhardt.
Well, there's just one question. There's one question, right, from Sean.
Of course.
How much did Tigers winning on Saturday rev up emotion around Leichhardt? If Sharks are up by 30 and Die-Hard fans leave with 20 to go, there's no way there's much fuss about it. Even if the NRL buy it, a residence and surrounding facility is going to let upgrades happen.
Oh, good question. Good question. I don't think there's as much fuss if they get pummeled. But I think there would have been some fuss because it's Leichhardt and a lot of people got emotional connections to it, namely Charlie Brown, Jimmy Hooper. He loves that joint, so... Charlie Brown is a cartoon character like Peabody.
Cool. Ben...
you know who would know, mate? The hot dog man out the front. That great guy.
Yes.
What is him? Yeah, cheese on a raw hot dog, that guy.
Yeah.
Cheese on a raw.
He'd be devastated, wouldn't he?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I remember the Peanuts guy at Cog Rover, those were the days.
Pistachios.
There's another cartoon, Peanuts.
Salted. Cashews.
Ben, do they still walk around and sell doubles? Double on
a main game.
Ben wants to know, what would it mean for the Warriors in regards to recruitment fan engagement if the South Island team was to go ahead, Dave?
What would it mean to the Warriors in regard... Warriors wouldn't be keen for this.
Oh, I think it's good for the Warriors.
No, they said the other way around. They said eating into their market.
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah.
It would expand the rugby league market.
I firmly believe we need a second New Zealand team.
Yeah. My word.
I think the game, the growth of the Polynesian influence throughout the game has made the game so much better. And I think absolutely second team in New Zealand for me.
And rugby's battling a bit over there as well. It's not as bad as here, obviously, but it's not as good as it used to be. A second team over there would...
It'd be cool to see a local derby and Anzac Day game over there.
The only thing I would say is with these amazing scenes that we see with the Warriors now all the time at the home games and then when they take a game to Christchurch, it has taken the best part of 25 years to get to this point in time.
But now's a good time to bring that second side in off the back of the Warriors. I don't think it doesn't dilute the Warriors. Like, they'll still have a full house at Mount Smart Stadium.
No, I think they're more thinking about talent production.
They need to that stadium needs an upgrade.
Yeah, you need to tap into the Pacific region. I mean, that's an area we talk about all the time.
Now, is the Warriors women's team being announced today?
They are, yeah.
Yeah, so that's another feather in the cap for the Warriors.
Okay.
One for you, Reedy. David Fafita. This is from Michael.
Oh, Davey boy's time.
Is he back to David Fafita to Canberra? Back on the cards?
We copped a barrage about this, Readman. What was going on there?
I think they're monitoring what's happening on the Gold Coast with Dave, Big Dave. He's got to around 10 to take up that option in his contract at the Gold Coast. I would have said 2 weeks ago he was definitely staying, but given the way they played the last couple of weeks, I don't know whether he's watched proceedings and gone, this isn't so good. So I think Canberra's just watching events unfold, and if Dave decides to leave, I think they'll have a red hot go at him. Do you get that feeling, Dave?
Yeah, I do, Yep. They're keen for a big man, big game breaker.
Yep.
They missed out on him previously. They had a little dip.
Imagine their forward pack with Dave in it. Well, it's a good forward pack. Don't you think?
Yep.
Mick?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Nick wants to know, is Terrell May any chance of joining the Bulldogs? That's a no. He'll stay at the Roosters, right?
I think he'll get it done early next week.
He'll remain at the Roosters. A couple of emails. Harry said, at the start of the year, my mates bagged me for saying I like the Eels spine and top 8 chances more than the Bounties spine and top 8 chances. After 3 rounds, would you rather the Eels spine or the Rabbitohs spine?
You're a resident Parramatta.
Good question.
You're a resident Parramatta
basher. I'm not.
Which one would you
prefer? I've just praised them. Well, on form,
Parramatta.
You'd choose Parramatta.
I guess
heading into the year, I would have said South.
I still go South.
It depends which
half. I think you need Ilias.
There you go. That's what I'm
saying. We're taking into Mitch Moses into account here, right? I know he's injured.
And Lachlan Ilias.
Actually, I'm changing. I'd take Parramatta spine.
So
just change my mind.
You take Parramatta spine?
Yeah, I'm changing my mind.
You going to change your mind again?
I could do by the end
What
of the
about
show.
you, Dave?
Yeah, Parramatta for me.
It's a good question.
Yeah, it's a good
very
question.
good
On you,
question.
Harry.
Was that?
Harry, if you asked me at the start of the
Is
year,
that the bloke who raced Tommy down the mall? Was his name Harry?
Yeah, no.
What does it say, Harry?
Stuart, who do you think is the best current player in the NRL to qualify for England? So this is from Stuart, a listener from the UK. We've got a few emails from the UK lately.
Victor Radley.
Is that any include English players or only Australian?
What?
Does that include like Kai Pearce-Paul?
Yeah, anyone that's playing in the NRL.
Victor Radley.
Victor started so well.
Kai Pearce-Paul's going all right.
Kai
too.
Pearce-Paul
He's outstanding. He's playing better than John Bateman.
I'll give you a smoky. Morgan Smithies.
Oh, he's been very good,
outstanding
Dave.
for the Raiders.
Been very good.
And you know, granted, give the kid some time to warm into the NRL, but he looks like he's taken to a duck to
Dom
water.
Young.
Dom
goes
Young's
good.
yeah.
Yeah, Dom Young.
So,
good
yeah,
shout.
There's a lot of them, isn't there?
Some red hot Pommies running around.
Yeah.
Dinner, boys. Riccio, what's going on?
We got footy training the Savo. So steak sandwiches, I reckon.
At the canteen,
steak
at the
sandwich.
ground.
Yep, at the ground.
Do they do that for training? They have the canteen
sausage and steak
Yeah.
sango, yeah.
Do they?
The
It's so
club I
good,
played at
Readman.
did.
Well, I
Yeah.
had soccer training last night with the kids. Canteen was shut. Nothing doing.
Well, why didn't you volunteer and open it and cook something on
I've
the
got a
barbie?
coach, you idiot. How can we be cooking and coaching at the same time?
After training?
No, it's too late. I went home.
What'd you have? No, actually,
went out
one
for
meal.
dinner last night.
You
Went
did?
out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, went
What
to
about
My mother-in-law's in town.
Okay.
Yeah, my mother-in-law's down.
Is that good or
Is that
bad?
a good or bad
I know. Where's the enthusiasm?
We're all right these days. We've had our rocky patch, but we're through it. So I think she likes a roast. So I do a roast tonight.
Oh, well, you'll be back in
Well,
the...
You know what roast I go with?
What are you doing?
Roast lamb. What you do is
No.
you pierce the skin,
All right.
garlic, rosemary, lemon juice. Bang. Can't fail.
I think we're doing takeaway tonight, so it's
Hey,
a
what
bit
are you
chaotic.
having?
What are you going with?
I think we just do grab a barbecue chicken.
Oh, with a bit of coleslaw?
No,
And some
salad
rolls?
and no salad. No salad and depends
Oh,
on
some
chips.
some pita.
Do
Some pita.
you go the stuffing or no stuffing with your...
Stuff in.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Readman?
There's a nice
I always keep
charcoal
the
chicken
stuffing,
place.
but I never
You
use it.
keep the stuffing.
Well, you know, you put leftover chicken. I always keep the stuffing, but never gets used. No one uses it. I don't know why I keep it. I just throw
It
goes
goes pretty manky in the fridge.
You're not
after
keeping
day.
stuff in. You either eat it or toast.
I'm a roll, chicken, coleslaw, bit of avocado, bang. That's
There's
done.
nothing better than like having a picnic and having a barbecue chicken
Nothing
with a roll
better.
or something like
We
that.
have barbecue
Awesome.
chicken every Saturday in our house.
Yeah, I love barbecue
And we get
chicken.
chips.
Yeah, I love
Chicken.
barbecue
Yeah,
chicken.
that mate,
rolls.
you've got to stay off the chips.
What happened to the dietitian? What happened to that bloke that
Oh,
went through all the
cheat
work?
on Saturdays. Cheat day.
All right, that's it. Enjoy. Happy Easter for everyone, and
Especially the
best
West Tigers fans out there. Love you guys.
wishes. And that's another edition of the Daily Telegraph NRL Podcast. Thank you for joining us.